Our reading this morning included the opening words of John Lewis's eulogy delivered by Barack Obama from the Gospel of James, chapter 1. Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, lacking nothing. We are all being asked to develop perseverance, aren't we? God put perseverance into John Lewis, Obama said. He went on to say that Lewis had a fearful vision of freedom, a forceful vision of freedom. As a young man listening to Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, Lewis was taken by the idea of nonviolence. Dr. King learned about nonviolence from Mahatma Gandhi. Gandhi understood ahimsa, or nonviolence, to be the essence of our true nature as human beings. He said its seat is in the heart. The seat of nonviolence is in the heart. And it must be, he said, an inseparable part of our very being. Like John Lewis, Gandhi had a forceful vision of freedom. He called the Indian movement for independence, which he led, Satyagraha, translated as the force which is born of truth and love, or nonviolence. He adamantly refused violence as a means for establishing peace, believing that the future of humankind will be extinct if we rely on violent policies. Gandhi also said, and I quote, "Those who say religion has nothing to do with politics do not know what religion is." And he continued, and I'll go on, he said, "I could not be leading a religious life unless I identified with the whole of mankind, of humankind, and that I could not do that unless I took part in politics." I think John Lewis would agree. For the longest time, I wished that weren't true. I wanted so badly to believe that politics and religions were distinct and separate. I didn't want to soil my sweet religious experience or journey with the dirty evil of politics. But then again, I was raised in another tradition to believe in what Richard Rohr calls a little Jesus, who is worried only about our individual salvation. I understand Jesus quite differently today. Today, he is for me a model and a great teacher who, like John Lewis, Gandhi, the nuns on the bus, and Rosa Parks, and so many others, understood religion and love to be the antidote to the abuses of power, too frequently cloaked by the mask of religion. These people were not afraid to be people of faith, whose actions were informed by their faith and whose faith was strengthened by their actions. Nor should we be. Religion and politics are both about how we live with one another and the earth. The rules, the laws, and stances of religion and politics dictate or attempt to dictate how we are expected to relate to ourselves, to one another, and the greater society. Our faith as Unitarian Universalists is founded on 7 principles that we promise to work to uphold. We don't promise to believe in them. We promise to work to uphold them. Included in those 7 principles are the inherent worth and dignity of all people, and the use of the democratic process in all our affairs. These principles, the inherent worth and dignity of all people, and the use of the democratic process in all of our affairs, those principles, among others, are being violated and crushed every day, killing thousands of people, highest among them, Black people, immigrants, and our most vulnerable populations. We join our voices in our affirmation of faith every Sunday, and we affirm that love is the doctrine of this church and service is its prayer. Our hope is that those things allow all souls to grow into harmony with the divine. All souls. And that is universal salvation. The politics of today violate the principles of our faith. It is impossible to leave politics out of church and to be faithful and true to what we say we believe. You've heard, if we are silent, we are complicit. People are trusting us to act on our values. If we give lip service to our values and do not take action to support our words, we cause harm. As such, we are called to act with, I believe, love or nonviolence. Not everyone can get out and act in the same way, and thank goodness for that. This is not me telling you how to be acting or what it is that we must do. However, there are some things that we can all do. One of them is to support those who are acting and are in the streets. Here in Market Square, in Amesbury, in Georgetown, in Boston, and elsewhere. We can offer them our love, our encouragement. We can offer to make them a meal, offer childcare, financial resources, and above all, we can honor them and what they are doing. So too, we can and must act in support of our youth by giving them agency, voice, and power. This includes putting them into the pulpit at church and elsewhere regularly. And we do this so that we can learn from our youth, support their work, and do what it is that they're asking us to do. Their wisdom, their experience of life as it is today, and their open heart and their insight, that is what we need to be listening to. Not so we can hand things off and say that we are done with it. Certainly, many of us also have other actions that we're taking today. Writing letters and postcards, being proximate or developing relationships with those who have traditionally been or continue to be oppressed, marching in the streets. We will all make the choices that we are called to do that are right for us, that work for us. There is no hierarchy of goodness in the actions that we take. There is no action unimportant. It can be as simple and as difficult as standing up for our values in conversations where they are being corrupted. We're also called to take action as a church. The stories of Unitarian Universalists taking action abound, though we are far from perfect at it. Unitarian Universalist minister Reverend Waitstill Sharp and his wife Martha put their faith, their marriage, and literally their lives on the line when they left their children and their comfort of their home in Wellesley Hills, Massachusetts, to lead efforts smuggling refugees out of Nazi-controlled areas to safety. In 2005, they became the second and third of only 3 Americans to be named and honored as righteous among the nations, a distinction granted to non-Jews who risked their lives to save Jews during the Holocaust. Unitarian Reverend James Reeb and Viola Luoza lost their lives in Selma, Alabama, during the same fight for the rights of Black people to vote that John Lewis is so famous for. Our faith has many other heroes whose names are unknown. Churches providing sanctuary to those at risk of deportation, taking a stand for the rights of LGBTQ, and those churches having their buildings defamed for hanging a Black Lives Matter sign. Those churches are made up of people like us who understand that faith without works is dead, and faith with just words is hypocrisy. Politics, strategies, priorities, laws made and then upheld or not upheld. The results of these things affect people every day. 80 days or so from now, we will know who the President of the United States will be for the next 4 years. Far too many people's lives, including our own, could be endangered or lost as a result of this election. We cannot commit to the worth and the dignity of all people and the importance of upholding the democratic process. We cannot say that service is our prayer and look away from what is happening. Equally important to taking action is how we are being in the world, how we are being. Our proposed mission statement calls us to take courageous action. It also calls us to embody love, authentic connection, and spirituality in all we do. It asks us to be people of grace, dignity, and principle. Barack Obama said that John Lewis's life teaches us about courage. And I quote, he said, "That's where real courage comes from. Not from turning on each other, but by turning towards each other. Not by sowing hatred and division, but by spreading love and truth. Not by avoiding our responsibilities to create a better America and a better world, but by embracing those responsibilities with joy and perseverance, and discovering that in our beloved community, we do not walk alone." John Lewis was a man of grace, dignity, and principle. We can choose to be that too. It's all about answering the call with love. Amen, and may it be so.